This is the Experience Share podcast,
where I, Mark, the Joe,
and I, Rowan, the Pro,
share our differing experiences in the Pokemon trading card game and competitive circuit.
Whether you're playing for fun or you're trying to reach the top, we hope our Experience Share can help you level up.
If you weren't listening, we'd be talking about it anyway.
So if you are listening, then be sure to use what you learn to beat those who aren't.
So Rowan, I was watching you in top 8. Congratulations. Vancouver Regional. You on stream, you know? Always good. And as I was watching you and you were playing your game and I was staring at the screen, I was like, maybe he's thinking what I'm thinking as he's playing his game.
Okay.
And I know you were playing Gardevoir versus Charizard. And I was like, if a camera lens is circular, then why is the picture rectangular? Like, if a camera is looking at you while you're playing, shouldn't the picture coming back to us be in a circle?
You know, that's actually exactly what I was thinking. Isn't that concerning?
Vancouver Regionals, last regional of the format. Home regional for us was really exciting. Interestingly, there were more Americans than Canadians at the regional.
And there were 3 Canadians in the top 4. So shout out Dennis and Lucas. Let's go, guys.
Shout out O Canada.
Shout out Canada.
Shout out, actually, Nathan Beck won the tournament with Miraidon. We'll talk more about that later, but shout out to Nathan Beck. I know something that was really important to him was he has a big support for breast cancer awareness.
Yep.
And they wouldn't let him wear his hat on stream, which I think is, you know, cancer touches a lot of us, and just being able to support each other in that and provide that awareness, I thought that was something we can do better. I know that Pokemon doesn't like the flags, like Big Daddy Pikachu doesn't want that at events and stuff, but I think for stuff like that has a real big meaning, and for his win and for Miraidon, which, you know, one of us has really talked down a lot.
I mean, I still think the deck is mid. It just beat the best deck in the game.
What did
Guardy, right? It just smoked me.
So Rowan is saying if he beat that, he was winning the tournament.
Oh, absolutely.
He was going to beat Blocklax.
Yep.
So we had called out that we thought that Roaring Moon, Charizard, Tina, and Gardevoir were going to be the biggest decks because of Canada. We said the Gardevoir was going to actually have a bigger meta share. And on day 1, Roaring Moon was the biggest deck, followed by Tina. But I felt like I didn't really see much Tina. How much Tina did you play?
2 Tina, which I didn't feel like there was that much Tina either. I definitely saw that 15% Roaring Moon, and that 13% Guardy. That was everywhere. In day 2, Miraidon was really popular as well. I saw a lot of Miraidon in day 1 actually, but we kind of saw the story of Roaring Moon's popular in day 1, so Guardy succeeds, and then Guardy's popular in day 2, so Miraidon succeeds, which I think was kind of interesting. A little bit of rock, paper, scissors format going on there.
I think one of the biggest things too is moving forward is like all these decks, I mean, they lose pieces. I mean, Shining Arcana, bye-bye. But most of the other decks are really intact.
Yeah, Tina's still going to be good. Charizard's still going to be good. Miraidon, I'm not sure.
It's going to lose Flaffy, but I think it's a sleeper deck. I don't think many people have been talking about it, and I've seen more of the Regieleki build.
Oh, okay.
Doing very well, and we have very few VMAXs left, so that might be kind of the last stalwart of that.
Yeah, that makes sense, because without as much like lightning energy acceleration, you probably can't use Raichu, so you need another way to get up to those big 280, 300 numbers, especially a way to do 330 and kill Charizard, because that really seems like it's going to be one of the premier archetypes in the new format.
How was your tournament run in general?
Well, it was shaky. I started 2-2. I lost round 3 to Miraidon, as expected, and then I got donked by Roaring Moon twice in round 4. But I was able to rally back. I had a couple of close calls. I think round 5 or 6, I opened like Zacian 6 dead cards in game 3, and I was just like, okay, I guess my tournament's gonna end here. But then like I top decked Ralts, and then I got Iono'd, and then I Mirage Stepped, and then I won. So that was like the craziest part of my day. And then actually the second craziest part was that after that I beat 2 Miraidons. They got a little unlucky. They like started whiffing their gens. A couple of them left vulnerabilities in their board that I could capitalize. Like one of them, they had a Flaffy with no energies on it, so I counter-captured it. I honored them to 1, and then Scream-tailed their Squawkabilly, and they drew past, and then I won. So A couple things like that. And then round 9, I played against Liam Halliburton, and him and I had...
Big fan of the podcast. Sat beside him on one of the rounds. He's like, hey...
Yeah, he does love our podcast, and he also loves playing it out at 6-2, which it was a disaster for me because as Gardy versus Miraidon, I would love to ID Justice, eh? And we were kind of I was joking with him before the match. I was like, oh, maybe I'll hit you next round or whatever, and then I hit him. But anyways, he ended up opening with like a horrific hand in game 1, and he offered me the ID, and I jumped at it. I was like, absolutely, like, I don't care how bad his hand is. There's still 2 more games. So took that ID, made it into day 2 at 6-2-1, which I usually don't like to do. I usually do like to play out that 9th round, but against Miraidon, I'm going to take the ID, of course. And then going into the second day.
Chat, if a pro and you're a Joe, and if a pro wants to ID into day 2, you should probably play if they know what you're playing.
Yes.
That's what we're saying out here.
Yes, especially also if you're playing as a pro and they've looked at their opening hand and they offer you an ID, you should definitely reject that ID because their hand is definitely awful. So,
and when they have to go tell their teammates and friends after they've lost, they're gonna be very upset. So it's a great story for you to be.
It is a good story, you know, to beat the pro in the 9th round, right? That's cool.
Jackson Ford called me at the end of round 9 when I was sad, and he was like, he played out for like more points, and he let me know that he lost to the same Charizard Arceus player that I lost to in Knoxville.
Yeah.
And then I saw that player the next day, and I was like, hey, you're just taking names and winning big games. And they told me...
Was that the Pokemon?
Yeah. Well,
okay.
Now it's a Pokemon player.
Oh, okay,
like Pokemon mom of one of the best seniors in the world.
Right.
But now also just destroying everyone. That was her... I think that's her 3rd regional. And I was talking, and she let me know that, you know, a lot of the times when we tell the stories, it's good that, you know, we tell the stuff, but she said it was going to be a tie until Jackson played down a 2-prizer on the second turn of turns to try to go for the game, and then missed what he needed.
Oh, so
then she was able to boss. But I think I would go for it.
Yeah.
Like, I think I would go for it in every situation, but it just goes to show that there's people that you put in that situation, they're going to come out of it even stronger. And I'm just like, if she's making day 2 like every event, that's a player.
And
that's a player.
You're taking out these top players in round 9. That's a confidence boost for
might
sure.
Be the best Pokemon parent in North America in this past quarter. I think we should have an award.
Yeah, I gotta think about that.
Yeah.
We can discuss that next week on the podcast, maybe. Best Pokemon parent.
I'm actually like, you know, Zach's having a kid.
Oh, true.
Calvin Connor's having a kid.
Yeah.
Cyrus Davis is having a kid.
Yeah, a lot of good players having kids.
I'm gonna be straight. I asked them. I'm like, hey, like when Zach announced, were you like, we don't want Zach's child to win all the junior money? Like, is that why
we gotta have kids too?
They need a rival, and I'm like, wow, maybe I'll be able to win a tournament. Like, maybe once I have kids, I'll stop playing and I'll just play those Pokemon parent tournaments on Saturdays, and then I can win like 7 of those regional championships. You know,
the Pokemon parent opens.
Yeah.
Oh my god!
Shout out Mark Directo, came 8th place. Holding came 9th, which is super exciting. He's been playing Peony Murad on the whole format, so I want to get in those tournaments.
Yeah, it sounds like fun. It sounds like a lot of fun.
And your day 2.
But anyways, yeah, back to the day 2 run. So I was looking at the tables around me, and I was looking at the standings, and I realized that there was a lot of Miraidons in the 6-2-1 bracket. So I was actually contemplating going into day 2 and IDing round 1. Because of course my goal is to go 11-2-2 and make the top 8. So I was contemplating just IDing round 1, getting out of the Miraidon bracket so that my tournament wasn't ended by 1. But I decided that it was a little crazy, so I wasn't going to ID. So round 1, I played against Gardevoir, and I ended up losing game 1. And from there, it took about like 25 minutes for me to lose game 1. I decided instead of turboing and trying to close out 2 games, I was just going to try and close out the second game, get that tie I was thinking about, and get out of the Miraidon bracket. So that's what ended up happening. Ended up winning game 2. We had maybe 10 or 15 minutes for game 3. Game 2 was really quick. And I was going to win game 3, but I had not been playing fast enough for the entire series. So I ended up tying, which was okay. as that was a result that I was prepared for. So then I was 6-2-2, and I ended up dodging Miraidon for the whole day as planned. Hit a lot of good matchups, things like Tina, Roaring Moon, Charizard. I think the most interesting game I played all day was on stream against Caleb Gedimer. He was playing that weird like Charizard control thing with like Panic Mask, Lost City, all that. And I'd actually been like preparing for that match all day because Azul was in my bracket for most of the day. He was like 6-2-2, 7-2-2, 8-2-2. So I'm not sure when he lost, but I was preparing to play against Azul. So I'd been thinking about it. I realized that they probably were going to try and force me to take prizes, and that I would want to do anything I can to avoid going ahead, because once I go ahead, I can't use counter catcher, I can't use reversal, so you get put in really awkward positions when you're ahead. So on stream, I just used Scream Tail, kept like poking at his Pidgeot, and then eventually I killed the Pidgeot, and then I had Boss's Orders and Pal Pad left in my deck so that I could take two prize knockouts and close it out, which is what ended up happening, and I was able to close out that series pretty comfortably. And then going into top 8, I played against Tina, which was, I mean, just a great matchup in my opinion. I made a YouTube video on it. I talk about it online. Gardy beats Tina. I even had one less path bump in my deck this tournament. I only played 2 in Worker, and I still felt very confident into Tina. So that match was pretty standard. I got donked in game 2, but otherwise was able to close out some pretty comfortable games. And then in top 4, I hit Miraidon and turn 1 hands. Actually, one of the games he only used arm press on turn 1, but that was good enough anyways. So yeah, got smoked by Miraidon, and that was the tournament.
Fitting into the format, you know, played Gardy, three top 8s, 2 top 4s. Very good,
Yeah.
very good first half of the year for you there as we go towards the end here.
Yeah, I played Gardy to 5 or 6 events, and my worst finish was 50th place, or 51st place maybe, which is pretty crazy.
Pittsburgh?
No, I was 40th in Pittsburgh. 50th was maybe Charlotte?
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
Charlotte was top 16. No, Knoxville was top 16.
Knoxville was top 16.
Yeah, so maybe Charlotte.
Yeah.
All right. Hey, I mean, you stuck to 2 decks the whole season.
Yeah, just Guardian Mew, and now pretty much losing both of those, moving into the new rotation. I mean, Mew is fully gone, and Gardevoir is crippled, so I'm excited to take a look. We're going to take a look at some of the Champions League, or not the Champions League, the City League decks from Japan that have been doing well, and there is a Gardevoir deck among them.
We'll be able to talk about that. I had a great time in Vancouver. The tournament, I said I was going to play Charizard. I went on another podcast and said I was going to play Charizard, and I did play Charizard. It was great. Round 1, I actually paired against someone I coach.
Oh, really? Who'd you pair?
Chris Turney.
Oh, right, yeah.
Yeah, and I made a joke. Not only was I going to beat him, but I was going to charge him for an hour of coaching.
Yeah.
But he played so... And I was like, man, I told him how to play this matchup so well. And he got rid of 4 battle VIP pass on turn 1, playing 2, and then Colressing 2 of them. And then he played Colress for like 4 straight turns. And I was just there. I'm like, I'm gonna attack into your Tinas. I won't take any knockouts. And I had to not attack with Pidgeot, which is a plan, because my V-Guard was prize. And that was like the one match was like, I really need V-Guard here. And it was really close. And it came down to a late game point where he had 11 cards left in deck. And he used Pokegear, and he needed to hit Boss's Orders. And he definitely had Boss's Orders because he played all his Colress, and he missed Boss's Orders for game. And I was able to win that. And then I played against Avi Shumkar, a very good player. We played in round 2. They were on Miraidon. They actually had a very good tournament. They came top 32, Avi Lashan, Uma Shankar. And I know from their previous finishes, I'd seen that name, and I actually sat down and said, wow, you know, can I just not play a pro in round 2 of any tournament? And they flipped over Miraidon. I was pretty excited, and I thought, you know, this is going to be a good matchup, I hope. And there came a point in game 1 where I took a knockout. He promoted, he drew, and then he said, oh, I forgot he's like, experience share. And I was like, I don't think you can do that. And I called over a judge, and then the judge was like, no, like, it's a May, like, they can forget it.
Okay.
And then he looked at me, he's like, are you okay? Like, do you want me to take it back? And it's like, it's such a tough spot to be put in, but I'm like, this person's like a good player, this is what's not. I think even if there wasn't a good player, I might have let them, but it was just in the moment I chose to err on the side of, hey, I'll let them have it instead of I won't let them have it. And it actually really mattered because the experience share put a lightning energy on the Mew, and he already had one lightning energy, so it would allow his Mew to copy Burning Darkness or Find a Way. And I know that a lot of these Miraidon decks are really teched out for the weekend. And it actually ended up mattering because I had to knock out his Mew, and I couldn't knock out his Iron Hands. So then his Iron Hands, he just bossed and then took another 2 prizes. And then I was able to win game 2. And then in game 3, I just started very poorly, just like one Charizard EX, and that was it. So that was a really tough beat, and I know it's like for players in the same situation, they don't know if they should or they shouldn't. I've seen someone like Gabe let people take things back, and I've seen other things. And you know, if me and you were playing, there'd be certain points where we would be like, we want to play the best game possible, but against an unknown opponent. Like, what are your thoughts on that sort of situation?
Yeah, that's funny. I actually had a conversation with Caleb Gedimer about this on the weekend. I don't let people take things back. Mostly because I don't expect people to let me take things back, right? Yeah. So I feel like if I let people take things back and then maybe I make a mistake and they don't let me take it back, that would really upset me.
Yeah.
So just kind of avoid that, like, I don't know, expectation from my opponent. Like, it's really unfair to expect your opponent to give it to you. So I don't give it to my opponents just so... I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I think the last time I said no to someone and let them take them back was at Toronto, and they got pretty upset, and they're like, "Watch him! That's how we're gonna play. I'm gonna take you down now." And it turned a really like good banter game into something that was a lot more like
hostile, right?
Yeah, which I don't want when I'm playing Pokemon. Like, I'm playing Pokemon as escape for anything. So I mean, I moved on. I lost to Miraidon. You can lose to bad matchups, and then I got paired against another Miraidon, and we destroyed that Miraidon. And then I got paired against a Goldingo, which for Charizard, and this is still going to be a matchup in the next format. So the reason that I was able to beat Goldingo is the first attack I used was Heat Tackle on a Goldingo EX.
Oh, so then you don't have a Charizard in play.
So by using the Heat Tackle, it put the first Goldingo at 200, right?
Yeah.
And then once he took the first knockout, every Charizard would knock out a Goldingo. Would knock out that Goldingo. And then you can set up your Radianzard to knock out the second Goldingo. And then your next Charizard will be able to knock. So the matchup itself is actually pretty tough if you don't know how to play it. And I just figured that out on a whim. The matchup does take quite long because they take forever to set up. Like, they have so many actions per turn.
Yeah, coin bonus, Pokestop, all that. Yep.
And even going to the next format, it feels very backbreaking because every time you want Iono or Roxanne them, you're like, they're just going to draw it all back. So the hope is to try to Lost City either Greninja, and I don't think we'll be playing Lost City really in Charizard next format because there's not enough space. But that was also one of the outs. I mean, there are cups still happening the next weekend. I thought that was going to be the rogue deck. There was a lot of Goldingo. There was a lot of... Everyone I talked to that wasn't a pro was like, oh, I played against Goldingo. I played against Goldingo. So that might be a big deck of cups this coming weekend.
Especially with no path, right?
Yep. Well, it's not a new format this weekend yet.
Oh, true.
And then Chien-Pao. I played against a Chien-Pao, which I don't know how it is in the new format, but as we've played toward the end of this format, I think that Charizard actually has a very good matchup against Chien-Pao.
Really? Why is that?
So you just boss a Bibarel. You know,
it's a good strategy.
And then you knock out a Chien-Pao, and you Roxanne them, or Iono them, and they can't get out. You have a Pidgeot. Your Charizard's going to take the last 2 prizes because they attack with Chien-Pao. I put a lot of opponents in really, really tight spots because they would have Bibarel, Chien-Pao, Frigibax, right? And then I would collapse Stadium. And my opponent was like, I could see from their point, they're like, oh, well, I'm not going to get rid of my Chien-Pao because I have to attack him next turn. And then it goes, oh, if I get rid of a Frigibax, then he just bosses the other one.
Yeah, so you can't do that.
So then my opponent got rid of a Bibarel, which is the exact same play I would make, and then I counter-captured the other Bibarel, and then KO.
And then he has no draw support.
Then there's no draw support, and even though the deck can take big knockouts, if you get rid of the draw support, it's really good. So I really have heard that Chien-Pao is more consistent next format, which in my testing I haven't felt.
Yeah, I haven't felt. It's the same deck. I don't know. What made it better? Nothing.
Maybe I'm playing the wrong list. Maybe there should be more Safer Maniacs in the deck, but I really haven't felt how the deck has gotten stronger. We're probably wrong. We are not Chien-Pao enthusiasts.
No, I have barely really played it.
But I think that's going to be something that everyone has to test against. But it was really nice to find towards the end of the format. So 3-1-1, and then I took I took a tie against a Lost Box paired like Iron Hands and Roaring Moon or like double Roaring Moon, and I wish that game came. I think if we had more turns, I was gonna win that game just through Roxanne and Ionos. And then there was another tie I had against Lost Box by a great Western Canadian Pokemon player named Joey Gaffney. He was really, really good back in the day, works a lot now. He was playing Lost Box. One of the first things he lost zoned was a Rapid Strike Scroll. If for 2 energy, it did like X amount of damage for how many energy were on your board.
Okay.
And then he had a Kecleon. That was a Rapid Strike Kecleon. That no matter what energy, the Kecleon became that type.
Oh, so you can hit anything for weakness.
Yes.
So like dark. What energies was he playing? Dark for sure.
Dark, fighting, lightning, water.
Psychic for Sableye.
Grass.
Oh my gosh. Okay, that's
he
crazy.
had a Sableye. He had Tropius. So there was a point where like he Tropiused, like, and you can't come back as Charizard. And we actually just had a game where we're in game 3. We were both. It was 1-1. And we both knew it was going to be a tie, and I just could never attack because he could Tropius me. But then he had bench locked himself,
so he
couldn't attack.
Yep.
And we took that tie, and then I played against a Gardevoir deck, and I was really worried. So Prince Williams, one of the top juniors, won out LAIC that I coached, was on Mewtwo V Union Gardevoir because he wanted to play Mewtwo V Union one last time. And I sat across from Paulo De La Cruz from California, big fan of the podcast, so that was really cool to play against. And they opened routes, and then I saw like 3 reversal. And I was really worried. I was like, is this Mewtwo V Union?
Right?
But never discarded Mewtwo V Union. Discarded a Slowpoke.
Okay.
I was like, am I going to get Slowbroed?
I guess, right?
Which is really tough. You will get Slowbroed if they do it at the right point, right? And he did say afterwards he probably should have scooped game 1 earlier because he did have a really tough spot. His Mirage Gate was prized. And I made a joke. I'm like, what are you going to do, Thornton into Slowbro? And then the next game, we played a very long game where I couldn't go ahead. I knew he played 4 reversal energies. I had seen Luxray, because Luxray plus Shining Arcana just KOs any Charizard. He basically 2-shots everything. Really have to 1-shot everything. And then if you're 1-shotting everything, then a Slowbro will win the game, right? And he did not play an EX until he needed it. But I saw him discard a Thornton, and I started celebrating because I was like, wow, rewarded for like knowing cards in the format. And we were just able to win that match. They played very good. It's really nice when we play against people that are like really love the podcast. Then we get to get the good old winning in. And I got paired against Joseph Noel on Palkia, which I knew he was playing Palkia. Like, I absolutely knew he was playing Palkia because he top 8 at regional with Palkia. Great person. He was the nicest person to ever just destroy me while I was like dead drawing for the first time all day. He's like, I'm so sorry. Greninja you.
I'm so sorry.
And the next turn, I'm so sorry. Greninja you again. And I was like, it really 522. Top 256. I mean, if you told me the end of the weekend I'd get top 256, I'd be really happy about it. I actually finished 132nd, so I was really close to top 128. And if you told me that at the end of the weekend, I probably would have taken it. But it really, really is tough to keep having these win-in-ins. And then you start asking yourself, am I the problem? Mm-hmm. Right? Because 6 win-in-ins, I know at least 2 were my fault, but I know the last 3 weren't my fault. So, and maybe the fault is the deck choice. That's
possible. The preparation.
But like, I'm not practicing versus Palkia, and I think the Palkia matchup was fine, because if I went first and then I could boss his Ice Rider V, that's 2 prizes, baby.
Yep.
Right? And he needs to attack with Ice Rider V Max in the matchup, so...
Just because it has more HP.
Yeah, it's the same thing, too. Like, one of the big fans of the show, Joe from Game Grid.
Oh, yeah.
Like, he, I've seen him in multiple win-and-ins with Charizard as well. So it's like, keep putting yourself out there. Like, I know it sucks, and I know there's a lot of the season left, and we're all going to all these remaining regionals, and if you're feeling the same way, which I know a lot of people are, because not a lot of us can top 8 3 regionals in a season... Hey, and when this guy doesn't top 8, he feels the exact same way as me when he doesn't top 8, which just keep your head in. Like, there is a thing to be proud of yourself to always put you in that position, and you're just hoping for a run in one of these tournaments. And with a new format, there's a lot of new things to go through. So anyone that's playing EUIC, that it's every tournament can be your tournament to turn things around, and that's always the hope. And with this format closing out, like, my only regret is I wish that I had done what you did and stuck to one deck longer, instead of always trying to find a deck to kind of beat the meta, like Roaring Moon. I called Roaring Moon when it was really good. I called Entei that it was really good. Entei had a good showing as well with a top 16. Roaring Moon, like Brandon Ban, he's just played Roaring Moon this whole format. He was 8-0 day 1. He actually beat our friend Sam C, who was his first regional. He started off 4-1 and finished 4-5. But out of the 9 opponents he played, like, 3 of them were in day 2.
And 2 of them were like 8-1, weren't they?
Yeah.
So shout out Sam.
So that's where we are. The format's closed. I'm excited for the new format. Any words to this format of Gardevoir, Charizard, Moon, Miraidon, Tina, Lost Box?
I don't know. I'll miss you, Gardevoir. That's it. Hopefully you're good next format. Mew as well. I love that guy.
I will not miss Inteleon and Urshifu VMAX.
So I hated that one.
I lost it every time.
I had mixed success against it, but just always a difficult game.
I would always be at a tournament, and I would be like 3-0, and I'd be like having a great day, and then I get paired against Scarborough player Giovanni McCock, and he would just Urshifu rapid flow me, and you know what they say, you can take the man out of Scarborough, but you can't take the Scarborough out of the man.
Alright, so I guess now we'll just take a look at the
City League decks, so yeah. I'll bring them up, and you let me know what you think, okay. Especially from this first deck for us.
Oh, our camera's kind of blocking, isn't it?
Let's just do that.
Okay, cool.
Okay, so first deck, Chien-Pao.
Yep.
Thoughts?
I mean, it's Chien-Pao. This deck's very good. I think the Iron Bundle is a great card to have in the deck. There's a couple Pokemon that are really annoying for you. Like, the general idea of the deck is big Pokemon, kill them with Chien-Pao. Small Pokemon, kill them with Iron Hands. Take 2 prizes anyways, right? But some Pokemon, like Radiant Charizard, is one that's come up a lot. You can't take 2 prizes on that. So having the Iron Bundle just to force like that Radiant Charizard to the bench, make them choose between either bringing up a Charizard EX or bringing up like a Bidoof or something. That's a great option to have. We see in this list there's none of the Cypher Maniacs decoding. I think that's a pretty good card in this deck. And then my other thought, I'm not a Chien-Pao savant or anything, but I feel like Ditto is like really good in this deck because you can Buddy Poffin turn 1 for Ditto and then retreat into the Ditto, get a Chien-Pao out, and it kind of makes your Buddy Poffins into like VIP passes. I don't know. What do you think of that idea?
So I think the retreating part is the tough part of that, and you would need to start one of your 1 prizers, right? Mm-hmm. And then sometimes it's just a dead card, but Superior Energy Retrieval can get rid of it. The other card that I don't see from this list that I've seen from other lists is the Kyogre that lets you do 180 anywhere.
Yeah.
Anywhere.
Yeah, you can snipe like Squawkabilly's, Mews, all that, right? You can snipe your other opponent's Baxcalibur.
Which I think that card is like very good. Any card that gives you options, especially because you get the energy back, and then they have to go after it, and then at that point you don't have to put a 2 prizer down. So I think that's a very good card to consider. I agree too that the Cypher Maniac should be in the deck, but this seems like the stock list that is doing well. And to echo your sentiments, we're going to see Iron Bundle and many other lists today, especially Lost Box lists, which is also very, very, very good for.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and in the Lost Box decks, I think the Iron Bundle really helps you get around Fluttermane. Of course, the new ancient Pokemon that blocks Comfey, right? So you gotta have Iron Bundle, you can Nest Ball for it, and then use your Comfeys if they don't have 2 Fluttermanes.
Yes. So that's kind of one of the big things for that. I mean, the deck is pretty stock. The cards in it are very consistent. I can easily see this Pokegear being one of those other tech cards that we talked about. And one of the biggest hype that people want in here is the Prime Catcher.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, Prime Catcher is phenomenal in the deck.
Yeah.
Oh, also something this list doesn't have any of is Canceling Clone. Being able to Prime Catcher in a Manaphy and Canceling Clone to knock out a bunch of basics with Greninja is a really strong play, and probably something I would include in the deck. Again, I'm no expert on this deck, but I think that combo is very good.
One of the big things for possibly not having that is the fact that you can use Iron Hands a lot more, because a lot of people might cut Manaphy in the new format because they're not as afraid to have it set up. We're missing kind of the speed with VIP Pass in the previous format, and we'll be missing Escape Ropes as well to do a lot of the work to set up for your Lost Box play. So not having those can influence what people are afraid of, and if you're not going to Greninja them, you can just Iron Hands them, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's really not much of a difference. You get 2 prizes either way, so maybe you don't need that clone play.
Should people be testing against this deck?
Oh, absolutely. People should be testing against this deck. Whether you like the deck or not, you should have a plan into this deck.
Yep. Yes, perfect.
All right, so the next deck, this is like a super standard Arvanzard or Pidgeot list. I've seen this list before. I actually just made I guess I haven't released it yet, but I'll have a YouTube video coming out shortly of this Pidgeot deck versus Bibzard, which I think will be pretty interesting. But of course, this is a good deck. What are your thoughts on this Charizard list?
This is a tech list. So Uneda actually started with a very stock list of this that started running 2 Rotom Vs. Japan plays a best of 1 format, and this will actually make sense for a lot of our League Cups. So now we see 2 Rotom Vs, no Lumineon. The reason for the 2 Rotom Vs is prizing the Rotom V in this new format is extremely punishing, especially because you cannot VIP for it. You need it to really set up. So they put 2 in because, as the mathematician here told me, you have 10% chance to prize any 1 card in your deck. So if you're prizing Rotom V, like once out of every 6 games, that's going to cause you to lose. That could be the difference between winning or losing. So that Rotom V has been put in here. We still have the Collapse to get rid of it. We still have a Turo to get rid of it. The biggest innovation now is having Airy and Devo in the deck for the mirror, so that you are now able to Airy away rare candies and then Devo them, which can be very punishing.
Yeah, that seems really good. The Eerie, of course, also very good against Lost Box. You can get rid of their rods or their gates and make it really difficult for them to chain attacks together. So I definitely like seeing this Airy, and we'll be looking out for it in a variety of decks. How
do you play around? Like, I feel like it's actually a very hard card to play around.
I mean, use your items, play Iono, put your hand on the bottom of the deck, but it's almost like, I don't know, just hope they don't play it at the right moment, maybe.
The issue with it as well is if you're using it early, then you're really baited into Devo.
Yeah, you are, right?
I think we might get into a world where like double Charmeleon, especially with 100 HP Charmeleon, so it can't get Greninja'd, and then the Paldean Fates Charmeleon that can't get Devo'd.
Oh, yeah.
That might be the play to go through.
This is like the best attacking Charmeleon, though. It's hard. It's actually 3 different Charmeleons. You could play any of them,
which makes you get really put into places. And then Maximum Belt. So between Maximum Belt, Prime Catcher, Cape, and Charizard, we've seen all 3. We haven't tested all 3. Maximum Belt seems to have won over kind of that battle.
Yeah. I see Maximum Belt a lot. I mean, I'm currently a big Bibzard enjoyer, so I got a Prime Catcher in my deck. But I think if you're expecting a lot of Pidgeot, the Maximum Belt makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, the Prime Catcher makes more sense in the Bib because people will try to trap your Bib.
Yeah, that too. Yeah, the switch is actually very relevant on the Prime Catcher. Yeah.
I'm actually surprised that this deck also doesn't play 1 switch as a switching out.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you got the Turo, right? You can Pidgeot for Turo if like your Rotom gets trapped or something. That could be helpful. Would you think this deck could beat Control with a Turo? Or probably still no.
So, the game plan against Control is we have 4 Obsidian Flames Charmanders.
Mm-hmm.
So we actually want to knock out one of our Charmanders so that our Charizards can knock out everything but the Mimikyu.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And then if you have this Charmeleon in your deck, you can knock out the Mimikyu.
Right, you can just vacuum the tool off the Mimikyu. I think if you played a Lost City in this deck, it would be wrapped up because you could Lost City or Lost Vacuum the tool off the Mimikyu, Lost City it, knock it out with Charmeleon, and then from there it's just a bunch of it's just a bunch of Snorlaxes, which you can just one shot over and over again.
The biggest issue is like it sounds really nice on paper, and it's like it's always nice to have a plan, but then once you get into the actual point of it, it can be really tough.
You flip over Rotom V as your starting Pokemon, and all of a sudden it's
But we have Turo.
I guess. But you're just so stalled. You got a Turo, Ultra Ball.
And they need to like Manatite.
Oh yeah, they don't have Horn anymore.
There's no Horn.
Yeah, so if you just Ultra Ball it away, they got to take a turn to Mantine you. Does the Mantine bring the Pokemon into the active, or just put it on the bench? No, just
puts it on the bench. But they still have Erica, but I mean, we can just discard those now. Yeah. So, I mean, this deck is good. I mean, the other play is you load 5 energy on a Radiant Zard, you just keep attacking the Radiant Zard, you just take turns off.
Yeah, especially if if you start Radiant Zard, just go attach, pass, and then eventually start going.
And then if you play Miss Energy on your Radiant Zard, they can't Mimikyu it.
Like, they can't attack you with Mimikyu.
Yeah, they can't put 7 damage counters on.
Yeah, that's true. So then your Radiant Zard won't die.
But I mean, then their Mimikyu will die, so. Yeah. Definitely should be testing against this one.
Yes, absolutely. I assume everyone knows that one.
All right, this one also should definitely be testing. This is actually Haru's Decklist. It's kind of the stock Tina Decklist, Rowan. Haru is a great Japanese player that's top-8'd, top 2 Australian regionals. He's been kind of going around, and he won a City League with this deck, so now everyone's kind of taking this deck and making it the stock Tina deck.
Yeah, I mean, this looks super standard to me. You see a lot of counts are the same, like from the previous format. It's 2 Roxanne, 2 Boss. There's an Iono now, 1 Counter Catcher, Prime Catcher as well. Great addition. I imagine this plays somewhat similar to the old Tina, except for the fact that it maybe is a bit faster. You got the Forest Seal Stone, you got the Iron Leaves, which is a great attacker once you get Mirage Gate going. And then, of course, there's no Path, so you don't have the option of Path Roxanne, which was kind of the strongest part of the deck. So it'll be interesting to see how this deck does. How good do you think this deck is without the Roxanne Path combo?
So that's going to take a lot of it, especially with a lot of Bibarel running around, right? So having to set up those Counter Catcher, Prime Catcher plays, and then Roxanne, I don't know, and hoping that they don't have 2 Bibarels is kind of where we are. You still have Giratina VSTAR that can KO anything, as long as they don't have that missed energy. I think that'll be an issue. So it might be a world where Sinnoh might be a good one in this deck. One thing to let you know, Rowan, because I know we probably haven't seen it a ton, is now with Path gone and people playing less stadiums, this Artisan could actually just stay in the game the whole game. Yeah. So the Super Rods become more powerful. The Poffins become very good to recycle any Comfies. And then the Forest Seal Stone, to people who are watching. So this was actually popularized by the Brazilian player who at LAIC top forward. Is the Forest Seal Stone is in the deck because there are certain games where you're not going to Star Requiem, and finding that card is more important.
Yeah, I could see that. I mean, some matchup, even against Charizard sometimes, you might not need the Requiem. Maybe they play Mist Energy. Maybe you just have the opportunity to use Iron Leaves. So I could definitely see this Forest Seal Stone being good.
It also helps as well to let you hit 7 for Mirage Gate on turn 2.
Yeah, you can Forest Seal Stone vacuum and almost play like Turbo Lost Box a little bit. Could you turn 1? You could even turn 1 Greninja going second with that Seal Stone, right? So you can go Seal Stone for vacuum. There's 2. Colress, there's 4, and then triple Comfy for 7.
Yeah, you could.
And you could turn 1 Greninja donk someone, which is cool.
Yes, and the Leaves is in there to take your last 2 prizes on a Charizard.
Yep.
All right, definitely should be testing against this deck. I think people gravitate towards things they're comfortable with, so...
Yeah, all the Tina players from this format, I'm sure, will be trying out this deck.
Yes. All right, so... Charizard Bibarel, I'll let you take this one.
Yeah, okay. I love this deck. I don't like this list. I don't like these V Pokemon. I play none of them. No Sealstone. And I play Prime Catcher. And I play 3-3 Bib. But generally, the idea with this deck is that you're better than Pidgeot Zard because you don't have any 2 prize liabilities on the board. You don't have Rotom. You don't have Pidgeot. And then you can use Bibarel. And another thing this list is missing is a Squovit. I think that card puts in a lot of work. Just being able to like pitch a bunch of supporters to the bottom and like continually Bibarel for 5. With that, it's almost like you're drawing like 10 cards a turn with 2 Bibs in the Squovit. That's like Gardevoir numbers. So I'm really liking this deck. Kind of feels like Gardevoir in the way that you don't have 2 prizers except for your 1 Charizard. And then like your Charizard dies and you go in with Radzard. Like especially when my opponent's on 4 prizes remaining, or sorry, 2 prizes remaining, and I just have no Charizard EX in play and I attack with Radzard. Gets me like a whole extra turn. So I really like this deck. Not particularly a fan of this list though.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of different places you can go with this deck. I think I would want a 3rd Bidoof in the deck.
Yep.
Because if you prize 1 and they go after your only Bidoof, it puts you in a hard spot. One of my cons with this deck is sometimes you need a boss's orders.
And they're hard to find, right?
They are very hard to find if you have to put them on the bottom with a Squovit or whatnot. And some of the games with Charizard, which I really like about Pidgeot, is you can just relentlessly attack them. So versus the Pidgeot versus Bib Mirror, I can go after Bib, and I know that you've talked about how strong Super Rod Buddy Puffin is, so I think that will help a lot. I think you're basically trading longevity against Roxanne and Iono for just a little bit less power.
Yeah, and on that boss orders idea, I think that's why it's so important to play Prime Catcher in a deck like this. You know, then Arven becomes an out to boss, which is really important. You do lose a bit of stability as well with this deck. Like first Lost Box, your Bibarels are much more vulnerable to getting knocked out by like Sableye than a Pidgeot. I mean, Pidgeot has tons of HP for your retreat, so in that sense, your Bibarel kind of is a liability. Even though it's not giving up 2 prizes, it is kind of fat and kind of frail. So,
yep, definitely testing against this deck.
Yes, definitely test against this deck.
Dialga.
I just love this deck. Whether this deck is good or not, I'm hyped that just to look at this is awesome.
Yeah, I don't even... Basque Legion?
Basque Legion, I know this card. 20 damage for each energy in your discard, and you shuffle them all in. So after you use Basque Legion, you're hitting your Matangs like crazy.
Was it Victini? Is Victini something we had?
Yeah,
like
Victini Prism. Victini Prism. Yeah, that card was really good as well in like the Reshizard deck.
And it plays Squirrel.
Yeah, the Squirrel. Love to see the Squovit. I guess you're nest dashing energies out of your hand so you can Matang them, maybe, with the Mew.
I think I probably want 4 Matangs.
Yeah, probably 4 Matangs. It's hard to find them too, right? Like, it's just Ultra Ball. There's no like Evolution Incense or anything like that. So, also kind of crazy in this list that there's 2 Eries.
What's the 4 Turos?
Yo, what the heck? Why is there 4 Turos?
I don't know why there's 4 Turos. I mean, these are all City League winning lists, so they have definitely won at least 7 rounds of best of 1.
What are we Turoing? Are we Turoing Greninja to use it again?
You can't. You only have mental energy. Oh, maybe. Or maybe you're Turoing a damaged Dialga.
Maybe.
But then we don't have, like, Super Rod to put those energies back in.
But we got Basket Legion.
Ah.
All right, this list is a little whack. I don't know if this is
where you start off. This deck is a deck.
This is definitely a deck.
This is definitely I don't know if this is something you test versus, but like this is something you should be prepared for.
Also, the Sandshrew. What is it? It blocks trainers from going back into your opponent's deck, right?
Yes.
So this is probably like a control tech in some capacity.
Yeah, stops Palpad.
Stops Palpad. Anything else that's big? Just Palpad, I think, pretty much, right? Okay, interesting. Cool deck. I definitely like the Basque Legion. I think I would focus more on consistency with a deck like this, like more ball cards, like Ultra Ball, like maybe Great Ball, Nest Ball. I don't know. After rotation, it's funny. I feel like after every rotation, Great Ball just looks like such a good card because it's just such a lacking amount of items to get Pokemon out.
Yeah, I don't think this is naturally something you should test against, but something you should be prepared for.
Yeah.
Okay, Box, the new Reggie Gigas deck.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, this deck seems super solid. It does one thing, right? It attacks one prizers for like a medium amount of damage. Like I would expect to be getting hit for like 150 to 250 throughout the course of the game. And then like maybe on the last turn of the game, you can find like a big 280 damage knockout with the Roaring Moon. I haven't actually played a game with this deck.
I think it should beat up against Lost Box decks, right? Because like you're attacking
they
for
have so much HP,
for
right?
110, and they're hitting you for one. You're attacking for over 110. They're hitting you for 110. This is one of the decks that I'm least confident in being an actual like good deck.
Mm-hmm. It would destroy Lost Box though, so if Lost Box is good, then I could see this deck being good as well.
I wouldn't be testing this deck.
Yeah, I probably won't either.
Okay. Second place at the Champions League, similar. Now they have a Goodra in the deck.
This deck is good. I'm not sure necessarily what the best Arceus version is. I mean, we've got several to look at today, but of course the Vulpix completely walls Charizard, which is really good. And then Goodra is really good against, I mean, it's good against Charizard too, actually, but good against anything that doesn't do big damage. Like the Ancient Box deck would have a miserable time dealing with a Goodra. Lost Box doesn't like dealing with a Goodra, especially if you get a mist energy on it. Your Goodra is just never dying, so that seems super strong. What's the Goodra for? What's the Goodra good against? Do you know?
It's really hard to knock out. I would assume versus Lost Box it's very good.
Yeah, probably Lost Box.
Can't get really hands. Like if we think about the attackers in that deck, Charizard, if it attacks, this card basically has 350 HP. And so it will survive a maximum belt. And then if the Charizard Pidgeots aren't playing Prime Catcher, then this card's actually in a good spot. My issue is the decks that are playing Prime Catcher beat up this card.
Yeah, and the Vulpix and the Goodra are both weak to Prime Catcher in the same way, right? Where you can like double boss and get rid of their effect. So you can either hit the Vulpix with a guy that has an ability, or hit the Goodra for like full damage. Yeah, this deck's interesting. I don't know. Usually I don't like Arceus decks, but
I think that the Vulpix actually comes out. There's a lot of things that can't hit it, but Vulpix has been around forever. And usually this card, as someone that has made day 2 with this card at a regional, it was really, really good against Lugia. But now Lugia has Minccino.
Yeah, Lugia definitely has no problem with this deck.
Yeah, so that would kind of be my worry with that.
Yeah, I guess the question is, how good is Lugia?
I think this is probably the second best Arceus deck you should be testing. I think ArcTina is probably the first one.
Yeah, probably.
Okay.
I wouldn't be surprised to see this deck do well, though.
No, this is a deck that could do well.
Yep.
Espathra, I know you've been talking smack about this deck. I told you that it could be a deck, and I think it can beat a lot of. It's a stage 1 with a great attack, which also slows down your opponent, and super effective glasses.
Man.
Versus a Charizard.
Like, what am I looking at here? There's Psychic Energy, Metal Energy, Scizor. Like, where you have a 1 energy attack?
Okay, remember when we used to play Weavile in Zoroark?
I guess. Where's the synergy, man? I don't see it. Why is there a Clef Key? What's happening?
Because you can slow down your opponent while you set up.
Oh my goodness.
Come on, throw me some more questions.
Why is there a Minior?
You got Draw Power. Snorlax?
Oh my gosh. I don't even know. Why is there a double turbo energy?
Because it adds 2 to your Espathra.
But you do 20, it does plus 40. That's
probably not the reason. I was just giving you can attach it to your Mew.
Oh my gosh, this deck is so not real. I don't even think this beats Charizard. It doesn't even beat Charizard.
What do you mean it doesn't even beat Charizard?
Charizard
has 2 energy.
Yeah, you attack with your Espathra, you trade with Charizards. Okay. And then eventually, they're just Radzard, knockout.
How many abilities does your opponent have? You just scissor them up and then you're slice them.
They will have abilities, so you can scissor them. I don't know, man. This deck can't be good.
And before you tweet that you lost to this deck at EUIC.
Oh my gosh. I'll clown myself on Twitter if I lose to this deck.
Alright, you won't be testing versus this deck?
No, I will not be testing versus this deck.
Please, somebody play him with this deck. All right, Arceus. I mean, this is a deck that both myself and Jackson Ford have lost to.
Mm-hmm.
I think this deck is. I think it's actually good. Like I've played it. It's actually won quite a few city leagues. No one's talking about it, but you very easily use your first Charizard to set up an Arceus, and then just like attach to your Charizard and attack. And you have the Bibarel, you have Ionos, you have everything, same problems that Charizard Bibarel has, but your first attacker is just very strong.
Yeah, I don't hate this actually. Yeah, you have a very efficient first attacker. You have Turo, so you can pick it up later.
Maximum Belt, it's hitting 250.
I think I would like Prime Catcher over the Maximum Belt. I think, but otherwise, this deck looks super solid. Probably doesn't play very differently from like a normal Bibzard deck. So if you're not looking to play Charizard, you could just pick this or Bibzard to test against. Probably don't need to do both. They probably play very similarly.
Okay, next decky. Future Box. This one seems really tucked out with the Valiant and the Leaves in it. That's usually not ones that you see. I think diluting the lightning energy really hurts the deck. This, to me, is the new Miraidon deck. Like the stock list that has more lightning and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, Miraidon really this whole time hasn't really been a Miraidon deck. It's an Iron Hands deck, and this is just the newest development of that. I like the crowns, lets you hit kind of those awkward Pokemon, like Radiant Charizard, or like, I mean, I would say Shining Arcana, but that card is gone. Kind of those awkward, like bulky one prizers. You can just one shot them with hands, take 2 prizes. So I definitely like that.
The Iron Crown, just to go over this list, the Iron Crown is actually weak to Dark. So it actually makes the Charizard matchup quite worse. The Miraidon Peak Acceleration, that card is actually very good. So with Iron Crowns, it's actually hitting between 60 to 80, which takes out a lot of basics in the format, and then lets it set up. If you are playing against Charizard with this deck, do not take 2 prizes right away, because then that makes Charizard be able to KO everything in your deck. So you actually want a Miraidon for 1, and then Iron Hands for 2, and then hope to 2 again, and then set up. This version, now looking at it, might actually just be tech to be able to beat Charizard with the Leaves and the EUIC.
You can also use Iron Hands with an Iron Crown, and maybe a counter catcher, and you can take out Pidgeot for 3 prizes. So I think going like against Pidgeot's art, you can go for something like
1, 2, 3.
Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 1, 3, 2. Probably 1, 2, 3 would be good. Also, something to think about is even if you have 6 prizes left, your Charizard opponent can still one-shot an Iron Crown because it is weak to Dark. So that's not good.
Yeah, because it can go 2, 2, 2. So you just kind of have to take the first step there, right? So if they go first, you go second, you take 1, then they boss an Iron Crown, and then you don't bench another Iron Crown until you're taking your 3 with Iron Hands EX.
Yeah.
I do like Prime Catcher over Reboot Pod in this deck.
I do too, actually. I don't think the Reboot Pod is super necessary.
And I'm a big for Booster Energy Capsule. Heavy Baton's really good. The issue is that most decks will play 1 Lost Vacuum, so you have to time that right. And what I learned on Twitter, shout out to On Guard, is that if you put a Beach Court down, it turns off Heavy Baton.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's interesting because you no longer have 4 or 3 costs.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Thank you, X, for teaching us. This is absolutely a deck you should be testing against. This is absolutely a deck you should be testing. I believe this is the most aggressive deck in the format. This is one of those decks that you play and you don't care what your opponent's doing, and you just attack, and you just hope they don't stop you, and you can punish them for playing decks that require setup. The other issue, as talking about the Dark thing on Iron Crown, is that the Baby Roaring Moon in the Lost Box, the Ancient Box deck, will take 2 prizes, so that matchup's a little tough.
You can Iron Hands all their Pokemon for 2, though, which is nice.
Yes.
But I think we're on the same page here with that you should just be playing Lightning Energies.
Yes.
And Prime Catcher.
Yeah, this might be more teched out. I do like the 1 Psychic, because the 1 Psychic on your Baby Miraidon It allows you to be able to, with 2 crowns and a future booster, you can hit for 220.
Yeah, and you can take 2 prize KOs with a 1 prizer, which is definitely a strong play to be able to make.
So definitely be testing against this deck. Definitely look up different versions. There's some good articles on PokeBeach on this deck as well. This is, I think, going to be one of the pillars of the format. And it plays Battle VIP Pass and Techno Radar. So really good, finds all your Pokemon, and it plays Iron Bundle, which I'm a big fan of the Penguin.
Yeah, Iron Bundle is definitely underrated right now.
All right, this is kind of our standard Lost Box list right now.
Yeah, I mean, you got Hand, Moon. There's a Hoopa EX, presumably for Arceus decks. I'm not sure that's necessary. Depends, of course, how good Arceus is going to be. We don't really know. I probably wouldn't play a Hoopa EX.
I would probably play a Raikou and a 4 Sealstone.
A Raikou, yeah, that sounds good to me. I think what makes Lost Box so strong in the new format is that a lot of decks are kind of slow. So if your deck can be really fast, and then a lot of decks aren't prepared for it. You know, like if you can be turn 1 Greninjaing in this format, that sounds like an insane thing to do to me. So yeah, I would like to see a Sealstone, maybe another Vacuum, maybe a second Sableye even.
Yep. And then with this deck as well, one thing that makes the Hoopa playable, though, is it does share the Dark Energy type with Roaring Moon EX. And just like with this deck, 2 prizes with an Iron Hand EX, 2 prizes with the Roaring Moon EX, and a prize with Cramorant and Sableye. Not much has changed. It's just a lot more work to find your boss monsters in this deck. One good thing is to be able to save your nest balls for when you need to find them instead of burning them on some of the other Pokemon early. Really want to use your Artisan to find your Cramorant and your Sableyes if you need to. Your Poffins will only find your Comfey. And then being able to recycle multiple times with your 4 Super Rods, the Iron Bundle and the Artisan, is also very good that we did not have this format that you're going to have to get used to in the next format.
Yep. And one more thing on this deck. This is another deck where Ditto seems great. I mean, any deck with Buddy Poffin, I want to put a Ditto in. It's a 5th Comfey if you start it, and it can be like Cramorant on turn 1 off Buddy Poffin. So try out a Ditto.
Yeah. We're going to keep trying to make Ditto happen. It's like Fetch.
Ditto's good, man. Ditto's good.
I think if they've played this format for like 3 months and they haven't broke, okay, 2 months.
Why does no one have a Ditto, bro?
That's what I mean. That's what I would ask those questions. Are they just not thinking as deep as we are? It's so interesting that like they come up with really broken decks and then they have some less consistent decks that we don't even look at, but it's always just like such a good place to start, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Definitely be playing. This is the stock Lost Box
definitely
list.
A good deck. Yeah.
This is what I'd be testing against.
Yep.
This one I think this is Goodra, very similar to what we played against. I mean, it looks just like the Venusaur Vulpix deck. It looks just like the Vulpix deck. Has a 1/1 Noivern, which is a little interesting.
Yeah, 2 energy basics can't attack it. Is that right?
So it seems very good against Lost Box as an out.
Future Box. Oh, Lost Box. That's why that card's good.
Yeah, DTE.
Or, DT, or 2 things so you can kill Comfies.
Yes. Again, we're seeing the trend of only 1 stadium.
Yeah, lots of small stadium counts. I wouldn't be surprised to see a deck with heavy stadiums just take advantage of the fact that no one's contesting it.
And Spiritomb in this deck should also really slow down Charizard on Rotom.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be testing against this one.
Just I'd use the other list, I think. Yeah.
All right. Block 2nd place at Vancouver. This deck has been around. I will call a shot. I will send my called shot that there will be a control deck in top 8 of EUIC.
Yeah, I agree, actually. But it won't win. It won't win.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Unless it's Sander.
Yeah, that guy's really good at control. I'm sure he'll have a crazy control deck. As far as the list goes, I haven't put a ton of thought into control. I can't imagine. I probably wouldn't be playing Crushing Hammers. It's a coin flip. Like the potential for your card to just do nothing. I don't know. I don't like it. I don't like it.
You've played Crushing Hammer and Pokecatcher and Mew.
It's not. I don't know. It's like.
Have you ever played a Timer Ball? Timer Ball.
I played a Timer Ball.
I played a Timer Ball. That card. I missed that card.
I don't know. Your cards are very valuable with this deck. I don't know. Otherwise, Eerie, of course, is a huge boost to the deck. That card's super broken. You can grab rods, switches out of your opponent's hand, which is really nice.
especially because like if you grab all your opponent's switches out of their hand, then they probably have to play a research to like draw into more switches. So then you can just keep Erieing them. So definitely a good deck.
Penny, Erie, Silene, Palpad. Friendship notebook. Palpad in Japanese is friendship notebook. Okay, next deck. Definitely play against. No, you're not. I mean, you're not going to want to play against this, but you definitely
play against this. Please,
definitely know it's coming.
Yes.
Alrighty, we got. This is another form of the Lost Box. So this is Raging Bolt. So this makes sure that you can hit some bigger cards, and instead of like playing an Iono or a Roxanne, you just make sure you're drawing cards with your Lost Box every turn.
This is like crazy. Got 4 Sada, 4 Colress. I like that you can attack like turn 1 with Sada.
Slitherwing's also very good.
Slitherwing, I actually don't really know what it does.
It does 90 and then burns your opponent, or I think it does like 120 and then you do 90 to yourself.
Oh,
for 2.
Okay.
So it does more than Cremorant.
And you can kill like fighting weak guys.
You can one shot an Arceus V.
That seems alright.
Yeah.
Or you do like 240.
You can one shot an Iron Hands.
That seems very good actually.
Yes.
Okay, cool. And then you have the Flutter Mains for like a Lost Box mirror match. That seems kind of good too.
Iron Bundle.
Yep, the Iron Bundle to get out of like your opponent's Flutter Main maybe.
Yeah. And then you have Raging Bolt to just knock out anything that's huge.
Yeah, Charizards. I mean, 5 energy to kill a Charizard. That's still a lot though. Also,
but at least you can kill a Charizard.
Yes, or like 4 energies to kill like most of the Pokemon in the format. That's pretty good.
Yeah, I do think probably Roaring Moon is better than Raging Bolt.
Yeah, I probably wouldn't build this deck.
Yeah.
I won't be building it.
Because 3. Okay, Lugia. This one's obviously teched out with the Noivern Nobat. That generally will be 2 consistency cards.
Yep.
Salvatore in this deck is definitely different, but also kind of makes sense. Yeah, I guess you can Salvatore the Noibat into the Noivern and attack turn 1 with continuous flight.
That must be what he's going for there. Kind of wild. I do like Lugia.
Kind of cool.
Good. It is. It's cool. I always feel like such a hater whenever I talk about these decks because I'm just so like pessimistic of.
Yeah, and then you come up with Wheezing to a tournament. Like, come on.
I don't know, man. I've made so many cool decks that just like couldn't beat the #1 archetype of the format, and I'm just like, wow, I wasted so much time. So I'm a little pessimistic when it comes to these wacky decks, but Lugia is not wacky.
Definitely be testing, and there's gonna be a lot of people playing Lugia. Actually, one thing that I think might actually even be better is you could actually play Reversal Energy and Luxray over the Noivern package to just like have an edge in the mirror.
Yeah, and the Luxray can also kill Pidgeot against Charizard, which is really helpful.
Yes. Only issue is it's so hard to find supporters in this deck.
Yes. The one thing I've been enjoying in my Lugia deck is I actually play 4 of the, Morty's Conviction. Is that right? Morty, yeah. I really like that card. You can discard an Archeops, usually draw like 3 to 5 cards. Super good. I think it's way better than Serena. It's better than Research.
I think Serena's just to be a boss Sereno.
Yeah, but like there's really not that many Vs in the game anymore. It's a lot of EXs.
Man, remember when there's the best deck in the format? Yeah. And it warped the whole format.
Yeah,
Chinchino needing 5 energy to take a knockout. One thing for people to know is double turbo does not count as 2 energy. It is not 100, and does not count for 120 damage. It does not account for that.
Yes. And another big thing is that if you kill one of your opponent's Archeops, they cannot get the 5 energy Chinchino out of nowhere.
So if you are a Charizard deck, you should be going after the Archeops.
Yes. Definitely.
Capturing Aroma, speaking of coin flips, that is one reason that I did not like playing this deck. Capturing Aroma just always gets me the wrong card. Interesting to see they don't even play Mezagoza to be able to add additional flips to search. Jacques has actually been pretty good in the decks that I've played it.
Yeah, I've enjoyed it. Yep.
So,
and the Collapsed is great to get rid of like Luminion. I actually played 2 Collapsed in mine. especially because like Temple of Sinnoh is really annoying for this deck. So if you're playing a deck that you think loses to Lugia, maybe just like toss in a couple Temple of Sinnohs, because Lugias really aren't playing enough stadium
I wonder
bumps.
if that's one thing we're going to change, is like all these decks that we're seeing, we've talked about it having the one stadium. I wonder if on a worldwide level, if we're going to change, that's going to warp because of us.
Yeah.
All right, next deck is Goldingo.
Yeah, I mean, I love this deck. Super cool. You get the Cypher Maniacs code breaking. Is that what it's actually called?
Cypher Maniacs code breaking, yep.
Oh, okay. I've been calling it the wrong thing like a lot. Okay. Anyway,
I just call it Mallow.
Mallow, yeah. Anyways, you can Greninja for it. You can use Goldingo's ability for it. So great synergy there.
They got your Morty's Conviction in the deck.
Yeah, Morty's. That's a good card too. Otherwise, same deck. You've got Clone, Prime Catcher. You can Ninja people. Draw a bunch of cards. No path now as well, which is very relevant. Helps you have a more consistent draw power.
Yep.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Good
I
deck.
would be tested. Like,
Yeah, I would
if
test
you
against
don't want
this
to play
deck.
one of the big decks, this is one of the decks I would try. It draws a lot of power. I think this deck's just getting better.
Yeah. My old friend.
Rowan, thoughts?
You know what? I actually can't say I've built this deck or tested it at all. I kind of just assumed Guardy would be bad. And didn't want to like waste my time trying to like cling on.
Drifloon does 180.
I know, but like, you just get lost vacuumed. Your Drifloon dies, then they attack, kill another thing.
No, it does 180 without a thing.
Okay, yeah, it does 180 without the thing, right?
And then you crest them.
Yeah, I'm just not amazed. Maybe this deck's good. Like when this list actually looks kind of appealing. Maybe I'll build this. I like the Weird Ear because that's exhaustion.
Yeah.
So that's cool. I don't know. I guess I gotta build this. I gotta try this. It might be good. It might be good.
So, I think it's worth taking a look at. I think that it does have a lot of things that you can do. The one issue is you don't draw as many cards because you're missing 2 Arcanas.
Mm-hmm. Oh, something that you could play in this deck that would actually be good is the Gallade, right? The supporter search Gallade.
Yes.
Then your Curlius can like evolve and get that extra value one time.
And I know you've already done a lot of beating up on people with Screamtail, so just being able to use Screamtail multiple times seems very good as well, especially with a Turo, because you can just Turo it before it dies, right?
Yeah, the Turo is super important to like replace your energies as well. I love to see the Turo Pal Pad. Sometimes your energies get stuck on the board, your opponents like get clever, and they won't kill your Screamtail, so you got to Turo that.
And the one rare candy.
Yeah, the one rare candy. They do have one. I mean, I guess you have TM Evolution now as well, so...
Yeah, I think that's what I saw from this list that was kind of a breakthrough, is that you're able to TM Devo in turn 1.
Yeah.
On your Flutter main.
Oh, yeah, then against Lost Box, like, they can't do anything. You Evo.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's solid.
And then now that it plays Arvin, it's also basically like drawing 2 with your supporter as well. Yeah. And you don't have to worry about Path of the Peak.
Yes, which is huge.
Right? And Town Store also lets you set up as well.
I think basically what I'm realizing is any deck that you think loses to Lost Box, just put a Flutter Mane or 2 in it, and you're probably good.
Yep.
That seems good.
Okay. ArcTina. This is definitely a deck. 2 stadiums. Just powerful. Just simple. Sets up. Sure, you're going to get bricked Arceus hands, but if you believed in Arceus this far, you just keep on believing.
Yeah, I feel like this is definitely the go-to archetype. Some cards I haven't thought about, like Radiant Gardevoir. Not really sure what that's for.
I think it stops Tina VSTAR from KOing your stuff.
Oh, okay. Okay, yeah, maybe that's good. Okay. And then Maximum Belt, of course, is you can do 330 against Charizards, right?
Yes.
That's what that's for. Okay, yeah. Yeah, so you have 2 options to kill Zards, which I like.
Yeah.
You got the Tina, you got the Leaves.
Yep.
Yeah, this deck's good. You're efficient in the early game and big damage in the late game with Tina. You can draw cards with Bibarel. And
it's been around forever. Like, so if you haven't played this deck, I mean, you only play 1 judge now because past judges is no longer there. But there's always many ways to like tech for this deck. This deck is still a deck. I lost to this deck at Elite Cup recently because I just drew poorly as Charizard. So this is a deck that should be on your radar. Now, I've talked about a deck a lot of people haven't talked about. But this deck won Toronto Regionals. And this deck won Vancouver Regionals. and those are both the regionals before an IC. All right? So if you think that it's dead, let me tell you it's not dead. I think the Future Box deck is still just better. I think you don't get away from the fact that Miraidon EX lets you find whatever 2 Pokemon you need. I think it's harder to set up without the fluffy on taking those big knockouts, so you have less of those big knockouts and more reliance on your generators. What are you thinking, Rowan?
Yeah, having no Flaffy really hurts. I would almost want to see more XP shares, like 3 or 4 XP share. Just keep those energies in play.
You got a Heavy Baton.
Yeah. That's more vulnerable to like a Lost Vacuum, right? Like you have one tool.
You have like 7 tools in this deck.
No, I mean like your one Heavy Baton is going to carry 4 energies, right? So they have 1 Vacuum. They get so much value.
I think when Christian Cantillon sees this list, he's going to be very upset there's no Gold Town store.
Yeah, is that optimal? You got to have the Gold Town store.
I mean, his decks are always playing, and when you play Town Store in this deck, you're always going to the store. Look how many things you can buy at the store in this deck. Tons. You can buy a Blinky helmet. You can buy a skateboard with a police siren. You can buy
a rock.
You can buy something to put on your Christmas tree.
Oh yeah.
You got an iPad.
No, like you got like an ancient Aztec stone, bro. Like that's not an iPad. That's like
I don't know. It looks like a case on an iPad to me.
Oh, it could be a case, a cool case.
Yep. And then you got
a baton.
Yeah, what's on the baton? I don't know what those
some
3
beads,
things.
Bro.
Yeah,
I don't know, but
you got some Greninja fingertips on
on the baton.
On the baton.
But yeah, I mean, if you want, I would also probably play like a lot more energies in this deck, like 18. I don't know.
What are the 3 judges for? Are you just trying to disrupt them while you like beat up on them? I guess because you can search your deck for all the stuff that you want with the town stores and the Miraidons and the balls, so you kind of thin out, and then you can just judge and hope they don't hit anything.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan. I mean, you're always the Miraidon advocate on here. I'm a keep hating.
I'm only a Miraidon advocate because you're the
because I'm such a hater
advocate. But yeah, I think the Future Box deck is just doing the same thing, but just better.
That's what I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, I'm excited. Is it anything that you're, what are your top 3 decks that you're testing currently? Because we do not meta manipulate on this podcast, and that's Corey Wider from Oklahoma City. Shout out to him. He day 2'd, and then he finished 20th, and big listener of the show. So
nice job.
But for you, Rowan, as we talk about not meta, what are the top 3 decks you're testing?
Okay, number 1, Bibzard. Very good, very underrated. Everyone's going to play Pidgeot, but I think Bib's better. Lugia is my number 2 deck. Got 4 Mortys in there. It feels really good. And then, like, my number 3 deck, I don't really have one. Maybe, like, Chien-Pao or Lost Box, but, like, I don't really actually play those decks. So, pretty much just, like, Bibzard or Lugia is what I'm looking at. Oh, and I got to look at Control as well, because I haven't spent any time doing that, but that deck might be busted. Not sure.
Yeah, if I was playing an EUIC, no.
What would your top 3 decks be?
Gabe actually said something, and he's like, basically, make it as you like bombed at EUIC, like you played in the tournament, you bombed. But we wouldn't bomb. There's so many championship points. If I was going, well, I am going. I'll see you there. Make sure you stop by and say hi. The tables are like a grid. Shout out to Game Grid. First deck I'd be testing as a Joe is Future Box. That'd be a deck that I'd be really looking into. I really like it. I just want to be aggressive. Everyone's going to try to play things. Charizard Pidgeot, very good deck. Lets you find what you want every turn. You don't have to scroll and hope to draw your cards again. And I think the Lost Box variants are where I'd start. I think I'd want to find the most consistent deck that I can and learn that deck. So you either have to find the most consistent deck that you can learn and be able to beat like a good percentage of the top decks, or you find a deck that just tries to go as fast as possible to take away the edge of the better players, because there's a lot of better players that are just going to get handed the deck the day before and just play that deck and be learning it, so you can kind of gain an advantage there. One of my biggest pieces of advice, if you are going to for your first EUIC and you are coming from North America, jet lag exists. Jet lag is a real thing. So if you haven't traveled, and I'm not saying this from personal experience, because I definitely didn't go to my first EUIC, and on my first round, I announced an attack for a knockout, and looked down and didn't put down any prizes for the only time in my career. I'm not saying this from personal experience.
Definitely not, no.
But I just want to let you know, jet lag is real. And if you think coming on the Wednesday for a tournament that starts on Friday is going to be enough time, you better be at home changing your sleep schedule.
Yeah. You got to go Monday, Tuesday, latest.
Yeah, when you went to Dortmund the first day, you just slept the whole day.
Oh, it was awful. Yeah, it's just jet lagged.
And then you spent a day eating donair 3 times.
Oh, it was delicious. Oh my gosh, I love donair.
So, if you see Rowan, bring him some donair at the event. So, any tips?
For someone going to their first EUIC, I would recommend trying to stick to a deck that you played in the last format, if possible.
Except Miraidon.
Yeah, except Miraidon. Don't do that. Please don't. But if you're playing like Charizard or like Lost Box, Tina, Arceus, anything that's like viable in both formats.
So if they played Gardy, you tell them to switch to Bibzard?
Like, no. Maybe try Gardy. It's like not the same thing.
He's like, maybe try Gardy and tell me what you think.
Try Gardy, tell me what you think. Maybe send me the broken list, because I would love a broken Gardy list. But try to stay to the same deck, or if you're not going to stick to the same deck, try to play something simple. Like try to play Charizard. A lot of people are going to be not practiced well in the new format. They're not really going to know what's going on, and you can get a huge advantage by just knowing a simple strategy and executing it consistently and accurately every game.
Perfect. Well, that's our time to end this, and whenever it's time and time is calling the round, there's always game time. Game Time Collectibles is a big sponsor of the podcast. It's gametime.ca. Use code CoachMark for 5% off and get the remaining Temporal Forces cards that you need before you leave for Europe next week.